Hello, Simin John. Thanks for accepting for this interview. And we are talking about art spaces in Tehran. That's one of the parts of Recounting Experiences project. That is a curatorial project based on research and interviews and also conversations. I would like to know more about your activities in art. How you start your activities? What happened that you involved in artwork?
Thanks for the interview. And I became involved with art because I studied art history and criticism at UCSD. And following 9/11, I moved to Tehran because at the time the climate in the US was such that it wasn't very inviting for people from the Middle East, or at least I felt that way. So I moved to Tehran and immediately began working for an art publication, Tabus Quarterly. I was translating for them, and through that office met quite a few artists and individuals with whom I began working. Through one of the artists that I met there, Farid El-Ashai, I began organizing exhibitions. I don't want to call it curating, it was really organizing exhibitions, but I did try to have a theme because these exhibitions were, held at galleries or at commercial art galleries. So the goal was to try and sell the artwork, and that's what the gallery owners wanted. So I think of those projects as more organizing art exhibitions in galleries in the Middle East where the works would be for sale. And they were very successful. Of course, this was during a time that the art market in the Middle East flourished greatly, and every exhibition that would be held in almost any gallery would have tremendous sales. So it was a good time for me to start, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what about the Ag Gallery? What is the main characteristic of Ag Galerie that you are the director of it?
Ag Gallery is an art gallery, and it is a commercial space, but we try to also be a space where important things are happening in the Middle East, because our aim from the beginning was to try and expand, first of all, expand what people's idea of image-based art is by trying to invite artists both inside Iran and from other countries to hold exhibitions, by having publications that would accompany these exhibitions, and also by taking part in art fairs outside of Iran to try and expand or try and reach viewers who are living in other countries, and up till now have only been exposed to a certain kind of art from the Middle East, which is what, in my opinion, what the West likes to see from the Middle East. So things that are very exotic, things that are very carry a very large label of being Middle Eastern. The artwork we show, I try to stay away from calling it Iranian art or Middle Eastern art. We just call it art. These artists happen to be from the Middle East.
Mm-hmm. As you know, we had Islamic contemporary art. That is a very hard sentence to translate it.
Yeah.
That how something as art could be Islamic or contemporary like this. And what is your approach exactly to about the Ag Gallery? I mean, what is your approach to art and artworks or art scene in Tehran?
Islamic art is I don't know. I mean, when we say Islamic art, we think of, we use it in the same context that you use, let's say, Roman art or ancient Egyptian art or Catholic art, for example, which is art that was created because of the sponsorship of the church or state. That label can only apply, in my opinion, to that kind of art, which is used to it's kind of like manuscript illumination or artwork that is got a religious theme. That I can say is Islamic art, but to use the term Islamic art to talk about the work of an artist who comes from a country whose population, most of its population are Muslims, I think is a mistake. That would be like describing Catholic art to talk about the art produced by an artist who's from Italy today. So I tend to stay away from those labels, and I find those labels to be very misleading and to be quite honest, incorrect.
Mm-hmm. But you know that these kind of artworks have not any place in market. But what do you do as a gallery owner?
They do, actually. It's not, maybe they do have a place in the market, but I think that the artwork that you're referring to that is very popular with Western collectors is artwork that will have a shorter lifespan, because with the lifting of the sanctions and the fact that we're getting more and more visitors, and among them curators and collectors coming to Iran, I think after a while people will want more than wallpaper. They will want more than something decorative. And this is not to say that among the artwork that is popular, such as calligraphy, that to dismiss that art. It is a very important part of our art history, and it's very important to show and support that kind of art. But it is not the only art being produced, and it is not an art form that can be incorporated into other arts simply because it's exotic. So it is being used as a tool. Mm-hmm. Calligraphy itself is one of the most art forms to be created in this region. And it has a very strong basis in Islamic art, because that's how it was initially when Islam came to this area. The figurative arts, the figurative representation of human beings and the body was forbidden, because this is an entirely different subject and argument. But so artists concentrated on the beautification of the written word. So I'm in no way dismissing that art form, but I just think that when an artist decides that in order to try and find a market for the work that he or she is producing, to incorporate bits of that, to get a share of that market, that is when it becomes questionable. And for us living here, it is very clear that that's what the aim is. Again, not for all artists, so there are some that have been doing, who are master calligraphers, who incorporate other symbols and other motifs into their art, but we're talking about artwork that is, has been created recently with an eye towards the market.
And they have contemporaneity, as you said.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I am so eager about your artists. Could you explain the mutual relations between artists in your selection?
Mm-hmm. I think they are as different as they are similar. The difference is very formal and in the kind of work that they're all pursuing. The similarity is that, again, it does not have an eye towards the market. It's critical. It involves very real issues that are happening around us, not just in our own country, but also in the region. They deal with issues of pollution, of immigration, of conflict, war, politics, our society. So, and they are all image-based. So, having said that, we have photographers who use analog photography, who print on paper, and then we have photographers who take snapshots and then work on those on their tablet and just create line drawings out of them. And then there are those, video art, the installation we have right now of Tehran, which is a really impressive installation. It was previously shown at the Sharjah Biennale of just old family photo album pictures, which she has used to try and trace and follow the immigration, of certain families who left Iran after the revolution and settled in the San Francisco Bay Area. So there's all kinds of artwork, really, but the thing that they all have in common is that they're image-based, and that I tend to shy away from the artworks that I say are created with an eye to the market.
And they are all not showing them as an exhibition. Some of them are projects, as I see, right?
Yes, some are projects. So we have one project which is based on the image of Iran on Google Earth, which just shows the map of Iran with a red dot in the center. This artist has gone and found that dot and created a project there in that location, a site-specific project there. And the whole thing has been documented with photographs, with a drone that hovers above, with video, and we organized a tour. We launched a project there. And then a book will be printed for that project, and it will be held here at the gallery. So that's how vast we try to take this idea of image-based art.
So you just not look for aesthetic objects, you are looking for artistic interventions, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of,
yeah.
And I'm really impressed by the beautiful building here. I would like to know more about the building and the exhibitions after that.
The building dates to 1969, and it was completed in 1969, and so it's a late 60s architecture. It's a villa that's on 4 different levels, but from the outside it looks like it's just 2 stories. We are in the north of Tehran, just off Valias Street, close before you reach Tahrir Square. Tehran is a very strange city. The entire city is on the side of a mountain, and it's just sprawling and swallowing up all its suburbs. So this house itself is again on a street which is kind of like on an incline. So you start when you walk in, you see one level, and then you have to climb stairs in the yard to reach the other parts. So it's a very interesting house. The renovation took about a year, and we had to make some changes to accommodate the gallery space and create a nice clean space for the exhibitions. Though if need be, we can use the other rooms and the bedrooms, which are have now been converted to the library, to my office, an archive room. We have our own digital lab upstairs, where we try to offer the all the best standards and quality of paper, printing, scanning. So everything we do on site. And so the entire house has been dedicated to the gallery space and all the activities that try to support the gallery.
What about the exhibitions? Do you just yourself select the artworks, or
I do.
You have some curators, or working with curators, or?
Both. Most of the exhibitions, it's really my own personal taste and what I would like to see being presented here and abroad. Like I said, we take part in fairs, and I try to support the artists with whom I'm working. But also, I do work with curators. If they come to me with an idea that I think, again, expands that notion of what image-based art can be and what the potentials are.
Perfect. And what about I would like to talk about the artist spaces. You have the private artist spaces at the Ag Galerie, and also that in Iran, in Tehran especially, we have public artist spaces and private artist spaces. What is the relationship between these 2 spaces?
We have we have the Contemporary Museum of Art in Tehran, which was founded in the 1970s. It's a beautiful building, holds a very impressive collection of Western art and also Iranian art from the modern era. They hold exhibitions regularly. Currently, they're very active due to a lack of funds available to them. They are taking projects. So right now there's a project with private sponsors that are taking place. And then we have other artistic centers. There's the Sabah Cultural Center and the Niavaran Cultural Center, which you can rent, or biennales are held at these spaces. You know, they're Sabah is they're both public spaces that are controlled by the government. So you would have to go through those offices to try and book those spaces. And then we have the privately owned galleries. So the privately owned galleries in Tehran, which number I think close to 170, are all owned and funded by private individuals. Each one has its own schedule, so the exhibitions go from 5 days, and I think we have the longest exhibitions at 4 weeks, and next year that'll be 6 or 8 weeks maybe. There are several magazines that are being published in Iran. There's weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, quarterlies dedicated to all the arts. So it's just not, there's magazines that are dedicated to photography, to various mediums, to cinema, theater. So there's a nice network of programs and places and publications that you can work with. And
is there any cultural policy that connect these kind of art spaces?
Well, we do need to get our permit from the government to open a gallery. So not everyone can have a gallery. You either need to have had experience working in a gallery or as a curator, or you must have had your degree in a related field. And you go through the different stages. They inspect your location to make sure that it meets the the requirements of a gallery, and you have to have a permit also, not just from the Ministry of Culture, but also from your local police station, to make sure that they inspect the site and make sure that it's okay. So there are various different procedures and steps that you have to go through to get your permit, but it's relatively easy to get a permit. And but once you have a permit, and for every exhibition, you have to send in files of the work that you want to show and make sure that they're approved before they can be exhibited. But once you have your permit, you're pretty much free to work, and galleries do not pay taxes in Iran, so we're exempt from that, and which is a big help for us.
And all of them are commercial, right?
They're all, as far as I know, commercial. And another thing that another benefit of having a gallery is that you can operate out of a residential building. So all the galleries in Iran, I think, operate out of residential, either apartments or houses, which might be very bizarre for people to because in the West or in other countries where you have art galleries, usually they're in a shop. They have a storefront. It's a commercial location, but here you might have to go to a quiet residential area on the 3rd or 2nd floor to find an art gallery, which is a very nice way of having to discover, and find a location.
Exactly.
So it's an interesting thing about the art galleries in Tehran.
And what about the relationship between the art spaces, also the viewers as a people? How people find the exhibitions? Is it a kind of white cube, or a relationship between the real art spaces that people can go and see everything?
No, like I said, unless you know that there's a gallery there, driving by, you might never even discover it. You might even live next door to one and never know that there's a gallery there. There is a monthly gallery guide that is published here called Pishnegah, and we all advertise in there. And it's free. People can take them. They're available in all the galleries and cafes. And people use that as a guide, and they go through that. You can start uptown and work your way to the city center, or some of them are even downtown. So yeah, that's how people find the art program in Tehran.
Mm-hmm. And if we want to back to your exhibition, what do you do in your exhibitions? What kind of systems or policy you have for each exhibition? For example, I see that you have a publication. You have a space for showing and displaying the artworks. So how you explain these things that accompany
well, we have the exhibitions. We haven't had talks for all of them or panel discussions. Or publications, but we will. Like I said, we just opened a year and a half ago, and we need a permit also to publish, so we applied for that, and hopefully within the next couple of months we will get our publication permit, and we'll be able to publish the books that will accompany each exhibition. As far as the talks go, we've had one or two, not held here, at a different location, because we just have the one large space that accommodates the exhibition, and in order to hold the discussions or the talks, there are spaces that we can rent and speak to for using as the location for those talks. So we do have a program that I hope to expand on, and so far it's been wonderful. We've managed to receive attention in the media, not just in Iran, but also with BBC, with which was surprising, because they found out about us, and they take images from the site, or other newspapers and magazines who've never even been in touch with me, but I do searches occasionally, and I'll find myself somewhere in some magazine, and it's very nice to see that kind of attention.
And what about your exhibitions outside of Iran? I see that you participated in many art fairs.
Yeah, the art fairs, I think, are a very important part of the program we have here. Like I said, we've met difficulties with being supported financially or through purchases and acquisitions, because again, it's not what people would like to see. It's not the decorative art, and I find that I have managed to find a very nice a list of clients who found us through the fairs. So for us, it's really important to attend the fairs, not just for sales, but also for through the museum acquisitions. Many of these curators and collectors don't come to Iran, but they are interested in what we're doing. So when we go to the fairs, we meet all these curators from the different museums, and I think it's very important to have a presence.
Nice. Fantastic. If you want to add anything?
I think that's it. Thank you for this opportunity, and I hope that through this platform we will be able to present a side of art that being produced here in Iran and in the Middle East, which not very often gets a chance to be seen. So I'm very happy about this collaboration.
Thank you.
Thanks.